Well, hey everyone, welcome to Theology Matters Thursday. Today is a special day because it's December 20th, and what that means is tomorrow is December 21st, and according to some, that means it's going to be the end of time, and that brings up a very timely question. Is the world going to, in fact, going to end tomorrow? Will you wake up to fire and brimstone tomorrow morning? Maybe you've seen the weather forecast on KSL for here in Utah, what it might look like this week. It's kind of a grim forecast, and so the question is there any reality to this? Now, hopefully most of you know that there is no biblical reason, certainly, to have any faith in what the Mayan calendar predicts. The Bible never says anything about December 21st, certainly, but I'm sure that some of you are secretly wondering maybe if there is something to this. And if not, though, it does raise a very legitimate question of what does the Bible actually say about when the world will end? Even if it's not tomorrow, does the Bible really have anything to say about this? And in fact, it actually does. And so here's a few important truths about what the Bible really teaches about this. Here's the first one. Jesus is coming back, and the world is going to end as we know it. Jesus promised us this, not as a threat, but as a hope of good news. He said, don't be troubled. Trust God and trust in me. And he says, I'm going to go to heaven, and I'm going to prepare a place for you. And in verse 3, he says, when everything is ready, I will come and get you. So Jesus promises to his children that he is going to come back someday, and the world is going to end as we know it, and we're going to join him in heaven. So that, and the Bible teaches that over and over again. So he is coming back. But here is a very important truth. Nobody knows when, not even the Mayans. The Bible is very clear about this. Mark 13, heaven and earth will pass away, so it's going to happen. But no one knows the day or the hour, not even the angels in heaven nor the Son, only the Father. So the Bible says that angels don't know. The Son doesn't even know. Only the Father knows when this time is going to be. So don't act like you think you have any idea when it's actually going to happen. Matthew 24 says the same thing. Be ready because the Son of Man is going to come when you do not expect him. So if somebody says you can expect him on this day, don't believe it. And so be very, very leery of any pastor, teacher, church that predicts dates or says they know when the Lord's going to return. If a teaching pastor at Alpine ever gets up on a Sunday and tells you the date the Lord's going to return, get up and walk out and don't ever come back, because no one knows. But having said that, the Bible does say there are certain signs to look for, that there are going to be some indicators of when the world will come. And you can pause your video right now and read some of these verses. But in Matthew 24, Jesus talks about how there's going to be wars and rumors of wars and famines and earthquakes and nations rising against one another, and how 1 Timothy 4 talks about how there'll be false teachers abounding. And in 2 Timothy chapter 3, it talks about the world's going to just degrade, where people are going to be lovers of money and themselves and proud and arrogant and all sorts of horrible things. And these are going to be indicators that the end of the world is coming. Now, having said that, just about every generation has thought that these verses described them, and these verses have been very descriptive of certain generations long before us. So even though the world might look like this now, it doesn't necessarily mean the Lord's going to return in this generation. He might, but I wouldn't assume that based on these verses. But there are some good indicators that we should be aware of. But lastly, here's the last thing I want to share with you, is that we don't know when the Lord is going to return. He might return tomorrow, who knows? But we should live like the world is going to end tomorrow. We should live with the reality of eternity in mind. The Apostle Paul says to be very careful how we live, not as unwise but as wise, making the most of every opportunity because the days are evil. He understood that the Lord could come back at any moment. The world is going farther and farther away from God. So we should be very intentional with how we live. We should live on purpose. We should live with mission and meaning and be ready for when the Lord does come back, so that we can live fully for him and glorify him. So hopefully we'll see you next week. God bless.